Okay guys, hello. In this video I'm going to talk about how to train for an adventure, right? And this video is for people who you probably don't want to go and climb Mount Everest or go to the North Pole, right? That's fine if you do. You can still follow this blueprint and it would still work the exact same way. But this video is specifically made for people who are probably a little bit out of shape, maybe haven't trained a lot recently, or maybe you've never even been in a gym before, maybe you've never been on an adventure before, but it's very much made for people who are kind of like a bit of a beginner, or you're a bit out of practice with health, fitness, adventure, and that kind of thing. But you want to do something. You're sick of just thinking about it. You're sick of just watching people on YouTube doing the things that you want to do, right? Because time's running out, time's marching on, right? You're probably in your 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even older, and you've only got a certain amount of time to go and do whatever it is that you want to do adventure wise, right? So this is for you. This is a blueprint, direction, step by step guide on how to go about it. Okay, and this is the exact same guide that I use for my clients. Regardless of what their goal is, it changes massively depending on what their goal is because everyone's unique and every venture to some degree is also unique. But this is the bare bones. This is the kind of blueprint. I'm just going to move this out of the way because it will annoy me. There we go. So the first thing I think about, the first thing that you should think about when you're thinking about some kind of adventure is like, obviously you know what it is. You've got some kind of idea of what it is probably by now. If you don't, I'm sure something will pop into your head. And if you don't, I'm going to give you some suggestions as well, or some ideas. But what is it about this adventure that excites you? Like, why is it that you're lying in bed every night thinking about this adventure and not another adventure? What is it about the Three Peaks that gets you excited and it's not swimming 2 kilometers in the ocean? Like, why this adventure, not that another one? That's what I want to know when I'm working with someone, because it tells me a lot about their personality and what makes them tick and just generally what they like. And think about like, what's your why? What is your, if someone was to ask you why, you should have a crystal clear not just because it looks cool or because some famous person done it or I've seen it in a documentary or a YouTube video and it looked cool. I would say like wanting to get to the end and get a trophy or a photo is a perfectly fine reason to want to go and do something. But think about it on a bit of a deeper level. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your family? What does it say about you as a person? Is it intrinsic or extrinsic motivation? You know, is it an extrinsic motivation means you just want like the fame and that kind of thing. You want recognition, which is fine. I'm not bashing that at all. Everyone wants that to some degree, I think. But then we have intrinsic motivation. Is, you know, what's that deep reason that, you know, think about all the great people, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, like they definitely had extrinsic motivation. They wanted to be seen as the best in their field. Everyone does to some degree, as I said. But there's no way that they got up at, you know, early in the morning and got on, like went to the gym and no one else knew they were there. That's intrinsic. There's something deep inside them that's driving them. And you might be thinking, Jesus, man, this is a bit deep. But motivation's a big thing. And the reason why this is so important is because you don't want to get halfway through training for whatever it is that you're training for. And, you know, life gets in the way. And this will happen. It happens to everyone. You know, everyone has families, commitments, responsibilities, and jobs, unfortunately. But I like my job, to be honest. But my point is, you're going to be stressed, and you need to have a really good understanding, a really strong grasp of your why, because otherwise you'll just fall off the track and you'll forget about it. If you're working with me, I'm not going to let you fall off track. That's my job, to keep pushing you in the right direction. But you need to understand what it is on a deeper level. Otherwise, you'll forget why you even started. And you've probably told people and posted about it online and stuff like that. Again, nothing wrong with that. But you don't want to be the person who says they were going to do something and they just kind of forgot about it because they slept in one morning or got drunk and then kind of fell away from it or got the cold or something. You need a really good reason. Anyway, the second thing is it realistic? And it probably is, right? You've probably seen someone else do something similar or the exact same thing that you want to do. So it probably is really realistic. Even if you're like 60 or 70, you can probably still do it. People are doing crazy stuff all the time. Like, it's definitely realistic. If someone else can do it, so can you. And that's the way I look at everything adventure wise. If you really wanted to go to the South Pole, you probably could, to be honest. You probably just need to raise enough money and get the skills operating in that environment, have good conditioning, be strong enough, and that's kind of it. Like, those things are obviously harder to achieve than I'm making out. But is it realistic? More refers to the time scale. Like, if you want to do X, Y, or Z in the next 3 weeks, you know, like maybe we should make it a year, or maybe we should make it a couple of months to give yourself time to get the necessary fitness skills and or fitness and skills to go and do something. So is it realistic? Is a big thing, right? Why is it important? Why is all of this important? Because we need a deadline, right? We need an endpoint. Otherwise, like, see, when someone wants to lose weight, right? I work with people who want to lose weight as well, and a lot of them, you need a point in the future that you're working towards. At this, like a fighter, right? If a fighter's just training randomly, yeah, he'll get better. But if he's got a fight booked, he needs to be in a certain shape, you know, a certain weight, and be standing, you know, on the scales, ready to go on that date, or he's not fighting. So think about it. Again, this might seem a bit deep, but think about it, because once you've got a deadline, once you've got a date, you've got purpose, right? You've got direction. Everything's got direction, and you have more motivation. And some examples, if you're thinking, don't really know what adventure I could go on, you know, cool things I think are, you don't have to go to the South Pole or something crazy or some faraway country to go on an adventure. Just think about your local area, right? Is there a mountain, a hill that's in your local area? Maybe hiking up it is easy. Well, why don't you like see how many times you can run up it in one day? Raise money for charity. Like, that could be a great adventure in your local area. It's going to unite and inspire the local people. Maybe it's like and while you're doing it, you're picking up litter. I don't know, like, you can make it so unique and so personal to you. Why are you doing that? Well, I always hike up it and I really appreciate it. And you went up there with your mum, you know, every single day when you were a kid, and now she's whatever it is, right? Make it personal to you. A charity kind of thing is good. It's really good it's extra accountability. I think if you're going to do some kind of adventure and add this kind of fundraising charity component, it's this extra layer of accountability because people are counting on you and you've raised money for it. Of course, you don't have to do that. If you live on a lake, or if you live near a lake or the ocean, it could be a swim. Skipping ahead. But it could be something that's already organised. Maybe it's just a marathon, or not just a marathon, but you know what I mean. Maybe it's something that's organised. Maybe it's the Three Peaks Challenge, or it's climbing, you know, an already established route. There's nothing wrong with that as well. You know, you've got endless opportunities. But I like thinking about things in the local area. It's maybe something that you see, this mountain in the distance that you don't even know what it is. Maybe you could run there and climb it and run back, whatever it is. I'm full of ideas. Hit me up if you're struggling for ideas. And this is an overview on my amazing kind of creative, what would you call this? Creative slide. Your adventure blueprint, right? So you start off at the bottom. The mountain is widest at the bottom. We need to build a strong foundation, right? Just like a house. You don't build a house on crappy foundation, right? So we need a strong foundation in order for everything else to work. And we'll go on to each phase, and then you go into a building phase where you build what you've learned here or what you've established here. And this is like the most boring phase. This is where you're going to fall off track potentially. So it's the most important phase. And then specific phase, this is where we get real into the nitty gritty of what's going to help you perform at the very top, right? So always remember, the wider the base, the higher the peak. That's something that you should always remember when you're developing all of the boring, you know, waking up, going to the gym, doing the same workout for a couple of weeks in a row. Just remember there's a point to all of it. It can't all be sexy workouts, sexy new stuff. So phase one, base camp. So this is us here, foundation phase, base camp phase, whatever you want to call it. And this is kind of where we start, like fitness tests. Like, where are you just now? It doesn't have to be, you're not going to be sprinting up a hill. It could just be a very simple strength and cardio test. Let's find out where you're at. You don't even need, I don't do this with all clients, right? But it can be useful. So testing, just kind of seeing how you move, where you're at. Doing like a meal plan or a meal diary, kind of see what food you're eating, where can we improve, what's the lowest hanging fruit to improve. And then we're going to like reverse engineer from the adventure back till today, you're going to build a plan, a logical plan, which is basically this: boom, 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 3-step phase plan to get you there, right? And this might seem overwhelming, but just bear with me. And what you're going to do is build general fitness qualities. And the reason why this is so important is you can't, like, you need a general strength. You need to be generally robust in the outdoors. No matter, like, I don't care if you're hiking, swimming, doing cartwheels up a mountain. You need some kind of base level of strength. Otherwise, your body isn't going to be durable enough in order to see you through till the end of the adventure. Adventures are usually quite long, aren't they? So you need a strong, durable, resilient body. And it doesn't have to be like, if you're swimming, you're not going to be in the gym doing real specific swimming training on the cable machine. Like, just normal exercises that anyone else would do. It's not bodybuilding, it's we're trying to develop strength. And yeah, cardio as well. We need an engine, or your heart is an engine. It pumps blood around your body. It keeps you going. You need a strong heart. Again, regardless of what you're doing, you're probably doing it for quite a while. Even if it's hiking, swimming, whatever it is, you need a strong heart. So developing cardio and strength is very, very important. Losing weight, some people are overweight, and you can use this as a vehicle for improving so many different things, like how you look. If you want to get a six-pack, just get a six-pack. Why not? It's the perfect time to do it. You're at your most motivated. You're working towards something. So excess weight, again, depending on what you're doing, like if you are going to somewhere very cold, maybe a little bit of extra fat could keep you warm, or if you're swimming in a cold area, that could help keep you warm. But in most cases, having excess body weight is not a good thing for your overall health and longevity, right? It's not a healthy thing to have on your body for most people. So yeah, proper nutrition, potentially losing weight if that's something that you want to do or need to do. How to track your workouts, how to track eating food, track your calories and that kind of thing. Again, like if you're just eating randomly and training randomly, we've got no data to go off, right? So tracking is made simple. You can use an app. With my clients, I use an app, but there's loads of different ways that you can do it. But just tracking, because then it means further, like weeks down the line, you can look back and go, right, okay, this is maybe why this problem's occurred, because we have this data and we can look back and see what's going on, right? And then how to train, how to lift, how to do things correctly. Again, base camp, we're going to learn the necessary skills so you don't get injured. And then confidence and lifestyle habits. When you're training, exercising, out hiking, like that isn't a lot of time in the week. You're mostly like making meals, sleeping, going to the toilet, and work, like doing things with your kids, whatever it is. So we're not actually exercising or going out on adventures that much, really. So the lifestyle habits that you have, your daily habits, make such a massive difference in everything, right? So the more that you can get better habits, and again, this is tied into nutrition, to sleep, to recovery, stress levels and stuff like that, the more that you can get good at these general lifestyle habits, which again, you don't have to go to an extreme. These can just be very simple. Get 8 hours of sleep, drink enough water, eat mostly the right foods, and be active. Like, it's kind of it, to be honest. And try not to be stressed. Easier said than done. And all of this is going to feed into you being confident. The more confident you are, the more you believe in yourself as well. So this is why it's so important to have that strong foundation. Like this mountain, the higher, the wider the base, the higher the peak. Okay, so the better you get all of this, the further you're going to go. Further, faster, longer, higher. And the drink. So phase 2, building your base. So this is, maybe I should change the name because base implies this, but the building phase is basically here, right? This middle part, the chunk of the progress. This is where we're really going to build on the things that you've learned in the first phase, which could be anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on what level you're at, depending on how good you are at all of those foundational skills. If you've been training, adventuring, eating well for your entire life, you probably don't need, like, that phase doesn't need to be that long. Maybe you haven't trained in a while, you just have to get up to scratch again, just get the body moving again. But then you're going to want to move on to building your base, right? So this is like you're taking a step up from the foundation. You're building strength, you're building endurance, you're trickling in load bearing work. So again, maybe training starts to look a little bit like your adventure. So if you're hiking, if you're going to be hiking or climbing a mountain, you're going to start doing stuff that kind of looks like that. Not a huge amount of it, but you're going to start moving your training in that direction. And yeah, this is like the boring bit. This is, like I said here, boring stuff, but very necessary. Where people fall off. This is where people just get bored because they kind of lose sight of what they were doing. The excitement, the honeymoon period is over, and the adventure that they want to go on is in however long away. It's 3 months, 4 months away, and they kind of they're sick of going to the gym. They're sick of doing the same workouts. They're sick of eating healthy. They can't be arsed anymore. This is where you need to just be like, no, I've got a crystal. I've got something to work towards. I need to do this. And this is where accountability comes in as well. So, yeah, this is the boring bit. You need to fall in love with the boring stuff. That's what all the great successful people do. They fall in love with doing boring stuff, and that could just be going to the gym. Maybe you don't like, maybe the only time you can go to the gym or go for a run or go for a hike is before work, and you need to get up early. That's annoying, but you're going to have to do it if you want to achieve this goal, right? So yeah, gear. Starting to think about the gear that you're going to go on an adventure. Maybe kind of like experimenting with the right hiking boots or wetsuit, whatever it is. Recovery strategies. You can't build a base without recovery strategies, right? When you're recovering, sleeping, resting, that's when things are happening. That's when your body's recovering. So it's very, very important that you don't exceed your body's capability to recover, right? So you need to get good at doing nothing, essentially. And this is also where I would say do some kind of midway milestone adventure. And the reason why it's so important is because if let's just say, for example, you've got a 3 month period, so you want to go from zero to hero, 0 to 100. You want to go from A to B within 3 months. You want to go from being not able to hike at all to hiking Ben Lomond within 3 months. See, the halfway mark, I would say do a smaller hill, right? Do some kind of, maybe you do like Conic Hill or something like that. These are just local mountains to me. Maybe you do a mountain that's about half the size, something like that, or half the amount of time that it will take you to do the final adventure. And this gives you something to work towards, this little kind of mini thing to work towards. And the reason why it's so important is you get to test your fitness, your strength, your mindset, your motivation, but also like your gear, food strategies. Maybe you've got like a support team with you. Maybe it's just your friend who's going to give you a sandwich halfway, but you can get other people involved, and you want to it's almost like a little test run, an easier test run, and that's going to keep you motivated throughout your training, and then it's going to give you even more motivation when you tick it off. Don't make it too hard, but it's going to give you a big boost when you're like, nice, I can't wait to go, and I feel more confident about doing the big thing now. I do that with all my clients, and it's generally works a treat. And then the summit push, right? So the kind of final bit. Let's see where we're at. We're here, right? We've done loads of training. We're really fit, durable, resilient. Now we're going to do this final push. So training gets adventure specific. Terrain, load, distance, skills, right? We're starting to make your training look more like less and less generic and more specific towards the adventure that you're going on. This is where it gets fun, I think. Finalizing the adventure preparation. So again, if you've got a really unique adventure and you've got other people involved, you're kind of just making final preparations. Maybe it's just checking train times or checking the weather or whatever it is, but you're basically making those final preparations to make sure logistically that it kind of happens. Nutrition specific for adventure. Again, we're just thinking about what you're going to be eating. You've thought about like if you were doing my voice is going. If you were doing a long distance hike, by this point you should know like what foods agree with your body, your digestion, your stomach. So you're not going to take completely new foods on your adventure and then end up with cramps or pooing yourself or something. So thinking about the foods that you're going to take on the adventure, how to store them, how to potentially cook them if need be. Finalising gear, just making sure your gear's all hunky-dory. And then testing it in real conditions, just making sure things work in the environment you're going to be in. A dry run, potentially. It really depends on what you're doing. But again, this is more if you have like some kind of team or something like that. But it can be nice doing it under controlled stress. And then a taper, if necessary. So If you've been like hard training's been hard, you've been grafting away for months, and then you're going to go on your big adventure, you want a little bit of rest before you go. Just let the body and the mind kind of relax before you go on your adventure, because you don't want to be going on your adventure like fatigued. And then you go on your adventure and you have a belter. That's it. It's kind of it. There's a lot going on, right? But it's all just being a healthy human being, a healthy, motivated human being that's got their shit together. It's kind of it, right? You were just breaking it down into 3 phases. But this is what, more or less you would be doing, regardless of what sport you were doing. Obviously, we're using adventure as a bit of a sport here. That could be anything. The adventure could obviously be anything, but this is the generic way of training towards any athletic pursuit as well, right? It's a proven way to have a blueprint to work towards something and getting prepared for something. And something I like doing, again, this is just something I do with my clients. I have this thing called field guides. This is the app I use, and each phase I give my clients like a field guide, and the field guide is dependent on the goal. So rucking, adventure basics like how to cook and stuff like that, how to prepare a backpack and stuff like that, and then clothing. And having like this is why information, so like if you're going on an adventure, you should think about learning, how to do things. Like, don't go on an adventure being unprepared. You should have a basic knowledge of how to go about it. So this is why I have this checklist, training notes, basics of nutrition, helps you stay on track step by step. It's just a guide on how to go about things. Again, YouTube's your best friend with things like this as well. Loads of free information. And what's next? So you've completed your adventure. You've went from zero to hero. You've completed your adventure, and then you can get like the blues after this. You can kind of be like, what would I do now? And what you don't want to do is like fall off track. Like, you want to keep going forward. This is a new lifestyle. What you could do is you could book a new adventure or think of a new adventure. Maybe it's a progression from what you've done before, or maybe it's something completely different, or maybe it's something with a friend or family. But think about the next step, because again, it gives you purpose, direction, motivation, and a reason to go about things. Or you could just focus on longevity. So I'm big on this, right? You want to get to later in life and you're very active and strong. All these things that we've been talking about, that's part of your life. And that will mean that when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you can still go on adventures. So you can take everything that we've been doing over those 3 months and just make it part of your life, and with the focus of living longer essentially, but also being more adventurous for longer as well, staying capable, right? And it's basically just, again, eating healthy, reducing stress levels where possible, and being healthy and active. Or another thing you could do is address weak points. So if you really struggled on, like maybe you'd done your adventure, but man, your hamstrings were just tight. Your hamstrings were just like on fire. Or maybe you didn't complete the adventure. Maybe you were short for whatever reason. This is where you can go in and go, right, okay, I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to get stronger from this experience. You still improved your life massively and improved your body and your mind massively, but now you're going to make your body and your mind even stronger, so that you're even more capable. Or maybe like you were carrying some excess weight, you're going to go into a weight loss kind of phase, or a couple of phases of weight loss, or maybe you like didn't have enough muscle mass, or whatever it is, right? But keep it alive, because adventure fuels growth, right? Adventure gives you something to work towards, and that's the end of it, right? That's it. Presentation done. But yeah, I hope this helps. Just remember, if someone else has done it, you can do it as well. You just need direction, and you need to just take baby steps. This is why this exists, because you just need to take baby steps, and you need to convince yourself that this is something that you can do. There's all sorts of people doing all sorts of crazy adventures, and you can be one of them as well. It doesn't have to be a big crazy adventure. It can just be something that suits you, that you're happy with. It can be just whatever you want, but go and do it, right? Because time's running out, and you don't want to get to the end of your life and be like, I wish I went on more adventures, because it's too late now, probably. So go and make it happen, and don't just watch other people doing it. Go and because you can do it as well.